Abdominal examination in a pregnant woman comprises of three basic steps: inspection, palpation, and auscultation. But before we begin the abdominal examination, it is very important for all of us to remember three basic things. First and foremost, always take a verbal consent from your patient. Inform her about the process of examination so that she is comfortable through the process. Second, ensure that the examination is being conducted in a secluded room or in a well-curtained area so that privacy is maintained and that area is close to a bathroom. Thirdly, before examination, ensure that all the equipment like a stethoscope or an inch tape or whatever that you require for examination is made ready before you start examining the patient. Coming to the first step, that is inspection. Inspection means visually examining the patient's abdomen. For this, we first request the patient to empty her bladder and ask her to lie down in the supine position on an examination couch. Then, we gently expose the abdomen covering rest of the patient with the use of sheets. If you feel that the uterus is dextrorotated, you can correct the dextrorotation with the help of some cushions or by gently moving the patient's abdomen with your hands, and then inspect the patient's abdomen. On inspection, look for the general contour of the patient's abdomen. If the appearance of the abdomen is more longer than wider, then it is suggestive of longitudinal lie of the fetus. Whereas, if you see that the abdomen is more wider than longer, then it is suggestive of transverse lie. Also check the abdomen for stria gravidarum. These are the pigmentation spots which are a physiological change in pregnancy. Look for any abnormal rash on the abdomen. Look for signs of previous surgery. It may be a previous cesarean section scar or a previous laparotomy scar which the patient may forget to tell you. Next step is the palpation. The first step in palpation is fundal height measurement. For the measurement of fundal height, the examiner uses the ulnar border of her left hand and gradually palpates from xiphisternum down to the pubic symphysis where the uterine bulge is first felt. To estimate the gestational age using fundal height, the abdomen below the umbilicus, that is between the lower border of umbilicus to the pubic symphysis, is divided into three imaginary equal parts. And between the upper part of the umbilicus and the xiphisternum is again divided into three imaginary equal parts. If the uterine contour is, say, felt in the lower 1/3 below the umbilicus, then it is approximately 16 weeks. If it is felt in the middle 1/3 of the lower abdomen, it is approximately 18 weeks. Lower border of umbilicus corresponds to 20 weeks. Upper border of umbilicus corresponds to 24 weeks. Then, the upper abdomen similarly is again divided into three imaginary equal parts. So, going 1/3 above is 28 weeks, 32 weeks, and then at the xiphisternum, it is 36 weeks. Now, what happens at term? When the presenting part of the baby, it may be the head or it may be the breech, when it engages, the uterine fundus goes down. So, if the fundal height is 32 weeks and the flanks of the woman's abdomen are full, it is equivalent to a term-size baby. The next step in palpation is measurement of the symphysiofundal length. Symphysiofundal length is nothing but the measurement taken from the uterine fundus to the pubic symphysis. Did you know that symphysiofundal length has more than 80% specificity in diagnosis FGR fetuses? One thing that should be kept in mind is that symphysiofundal length is measured only after 24 weeks. Like the measurement of fundal height, we will first palpate for the uterine fundus. Wherever we feel the uterine fundus, we will take a pen and gently mark it on the mother's abdomen. We will then take an inch tape and start measuring from the pubic symphysis to the point where we had marked the uterine fundus. So this is 28 centimeters. Symphysiofundal length in centimeters corresponds to the gestation age of the fetus in weeks. So if the fetus is 28 weeks, then the symphysiofundal length will be 28 centimeters. The next part of palpation is grips. The purpose of grips is to get an orientation of how the fetus is lying in the mother's abdomen. There are 4 grips. First is the fundal grip. For the fundal grip, the examiner needs to face the mother's face. Then, by keeping both the hands on the uterine fundus, gently palpates the part which is felt on the fundus. If you feel a round, hard, globular part, it is suggestive of the fetal head. If you find soft, globular, broad parts, it is suggestive of the buttocks of the baby. If you feel the buttocks of the baby, the baby is in cephalic presentation. If you feel the head of the baby at the fundus, the baby is in breech presentation. The next comes the lateral grips. For doing the lateral grips, it is very important to stabilize the other part of the abdomen with one of your hands, and then palpate the other side of the abdomen with your other hand. For example, if we are doing the left lateral grip, then we will stabilize the right side of the mother's abdomen with our hand, and then gently with the tips of the fingers of the other hand, we will palpate the left side of the abdomen. If you find soft, knobby parts on palpation, it is suggestive of the baby's hands and toes. Whereas, if you find a smooth, curvilinear, hard structure, it is suggestive of the baby's back. It is very important to remember which side did you find the baby's back, because it is on this side that the fetal heart sounds will be heard. Next comes the pelvic grips. There are 2 pelvic grips, the superficial pelvic grip and the deep pelvic grip. For the superficial pelvic grip, the examiner tries to feel the presenting part by making a cup of her hand below the pubic symphysis and tries to move the presenting part between her thumb and her fingers. If the presenting part is easily moved between the thumb and the fingers, it is suggestive of the presenting part being free floating or not engaged. If the presenting part is not movable, then it is suggestive of the presenting part being engaged. So in the deep pelvic grip, if the examiner is able to go below the presenting part, it is suggestive of the presenting part being free floating. But if the hands of the examiner diverge, that is suggestive of the presenting part being engaged. The next part is auscultation. For auscultation, there are 2 things that you have to keep in mind. Which side did you find the fetus's back, and what is the presentation of the baby? Now imagine that the presentation of the baby was cephalic and we found the fetal back on the right side. So in cephalic presentation, the fetal heart is heard in the spino-umbilical line, that is, the line joining the mother's anterior superior iliac spine to the umbilicus, on the side on which the fetus's back is there. So we have identified the site where the fetus's back is. We will take a stethoscope . It is very important to listen to the baby's heart rate for 1 complete minute. Normal fetal heart rate is between 120 beats to 160 beats per minute. If the baby is in breech presentation, then you will find the fetal heart in the line joining the umbilicus of the mother to the last rib, on the side where the fetal back is. That is the point where you will find the fetal heart rate. If the baby is in the transverse lie, the fetal heartbeat is heard somewhere around the mother's umbilicus. So this brings us to the end of abdominal examination in a pregnant lady. Once you are done examining the woman, ensure that you cover her back. Throughout the process of examination, keep checking with the patient if she is comfortable or not, or is any of your actions causing her any pain or discomfort. So in the end, we can summarize by saying that a proper verbal consent is very important before you begin any kind of examination on a pregnant woman. The main parts of an abdominal examination are inspection, palpation, and auscultation. Remember to refer to the Quality ANC protocol for more details. Timely and thorough ANC checkups help us to identify high-risk conditions early and ensure that we manage and treat them in a timely manner, leading to better health outcomes for both mother and baby.